And he's a big bird. Like, this is not like Big Bird, but like he's a giant blue eagle. What is Big Bird anyways? Is he a chicken?
I don't know.
In Sesame Street? I don't.
He's a monstrosity. That's what Big Bird is.
Welcome to Casuals of Runeterra, episode 5. I'm your host, Ryan, here with your other host, Hedge.
We made it to 5, baby!
We made it to 5.
Pop the champagne.
Pop the champagne. This one's special. It's something we didn't really plan for, but that's life.
That's life, and even casuals have to learn to adapt.
I know, right? State of the game. We still have a format. Housekeeping. So yeah, we can now. I mentioned it in the last episode, but we're everywhere. In case you missed that one and you like skipped that one and came to this one because you live a life that frowned upon.
Yeah, like
listen in order.
You're an agent of chaos.
Agent of chaos. But yeah, so now you can find us on everything. If your friend says they can't find it, they're lying to you, and you need better friends. So you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, Google Podcast, and Pocket Cast. And if there's anything else, let us know, and I'll get it there. Right. As always, follow us on Twitter. That's the easiest way to keep up to date on episodes, and then you can find links from that. And then you can reach us at podcastcore, that's COR, at gmail.com. Oh, and the Twitter's podcastcore. COR.
Give us some feedback. We would love to hear from y'all.
Yeah, like, follow. We're still want to see that emoji. I don't know if anybody's done it yet. I need to go check.
Yeah, we want to be the first 6-star podcast ever. Rate 5 stars. Star emoji.
I love how I stopped at 1-star emoji when you can put multiple emojis. Like, I should have went bigger. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself, but
we're casuals. We can't reach too far, man.
I know, right? So for this episode, scout around for a friend to tell about the show.
Oh my God, I'm out. I'm leaving.
Main topic. So for this episode, we're going to talk about one of the reveals, which was Quinn. So we talked about it at the end of last episode that Wright's doing this rollout, this slow rollout, like daily or bi-daily, if that's a thing. Every 2 days, we're getting a reveal of a card, or we're getting a spotlight, which has an animation in it that we haven't seen before, which could be used, and stuff like that. And it's really cool. We approve. 2 thumbs up, right? And one of the ones that we were hyped for, because we started this journey off in Demacia, is Quinn.
Yes, and I want to be as transparent as I can.
That's good.
We talked a lot about how my marriage certificate to marry Lux didn't go through on our previous episode, and the real reason it didn't go through is because I can't keep away from Quinn. Like I am super excited that Quinn and Valor is going to be our next Demacia character.
So what you found out here, listeners, is that Hedge has a fear of commitment.
Yeah. Let's point out the fear of commitment and not just be like, is this guy talking about not real 2D characters?
It's called deflecting, Hedge. It's deflecting.
Oh shit! You had my back this whole time. You're a good friend.
But yeah, let's hop into it. So, main topic: you've challenged Gym Master Quinn.
No.
Now, the theme that we're seeing with this region and that we know about her story is that she's from a town that's a part of the Demacian region that's outside of that. And it's a town known for their tracking abilities. They're closer to Freljord tribes than they are to Demacian city dwellers. But we got a couple spells here, or one spell mainly revealed, and then we also had 2 followers, or 2 or 3 followers, no, 2 followers that have, or no, 3 followers, sorry. And then one of them is a card that's generated by one of those cards. And then we got
that
Quinn.
Your final answer?
I think that's final answer.
Final answer. Okay.
Do I win the million?
Do I win the million?
But we're gonna start off with a spell here, which is Blinding Assault. So this is a 2-cost slow spell that summons Valor, which is Quinn's buddy, or maybe the champion here, and Quinn is the pet. We'll never know, right? But it's a 2/1 challenger scout, which is the new keyword we got here. You want to tell them what scout does, Edge?
Scout is a new keyword, so it's not on any card that Runeterra has had so far throughout the beta. And whenever a creature with Scout attacks for the first time that turn, you rally. In essence. So it's not quite the same thing as rally, where if rally triggers, you get that attack icon again. A creature with Scout has to attack, and it has to be the first time that you've attacked that turn. And once they've done that, you rally one time.
It is a very confusing keyword for the first new keyword.
Yeah, it's definitely like I'm pretty sure that we're gonna be wrong on something, because we're recording this before Quinn is even playable, or any creature with Scout is playable, and
we're risking our careers.
We're risking our careers. Yeah, we told Riot we could do it. We're casuals, baby. But I would not be surprised at all if we come back recording after getting to play with these cards for a little bit, and it turns out we were wrong about something. Like because we're going off of the reveal video, which Riot still keeping it just pedal to the metal with anytime they reveal something, just like something that's gorgeous. It looked awesome, and the cards look great, but when they showed Quinn in action, it was just like this big old smile on my face of just like, let's go. It is really some Sonic gameplay, gotta go fast, just attack.
So for this spell in particular, I'm kind of grabbing flavor from what we've seen, and it's funny because when we looked at her lore, the way it's a slow spell, right? So the way her and Valor approach situations, which Hetch will talk about when he talks about the champion, is that Valor's never there when Quinn engages, right? He's usually scouting, he's usually above and kind of mapping out things, or they plan ahead of schedule. So she'll engage in fights, and then Valor will show up, which is kind of how the spell behaves, which makes sense. So one part I'm going to reach for, though, as far as flavor is concerned, is in her side story. There's a side story she has where she, we spoke about it before, she goes into a camp to engage with some Noxian, I don't know, I guess military guys, like mercenaries or whatever, enters their camp, kind of scouts it all out, and then engages with them. And Valor swoops in on this one guy and just tears his face off. And in my mind, I was like, no face, no eyesight. He's blind, bruh. Blinding assault. It's that simple, right? Like, it makes sense. And then he tends to go for the face first. It happens when he saves her in her story. The beast he attacks, he goes for the face first. Like, that's kind of, and he's a big bird. Like, this is not like Big Bird, but like he's a giant blue eagle. What is Big Bird anyways? Is he a chicken?
I don't know.
In Sesame Street? I don't.
He's a monstrosity. That's what Big Bird is.
He's about as chicken as Barney is dinosaur. I'm sorry. I told y'all it's a special episode. But yeah, let's. What do you think about Blinding Assault? Do you think as a spell that it'll get played, or you think you just get it whenever you have an extra Quinn in hand?
I don't think Blinding Assault's only going to get played so that you can get value out of a Quinn in your hand when it's the only card in your hand.
Yeah.
Like, it's dead. If it was a fast spell, I think it would maybe see like a one of. Okay. So that way you could respond to a Valor getting removed.
Yeah.
So then it's like Valor gets removed, you respond to it. So Valor dies, you get a Valor, and then you attack.
Yeah.
But with it being slow, it's like, well, no. I don't think anyone will play it. But
Okay.
I mean, I wish that there was maybe a little bit more like playing around with the idea of maybe blind being a mechanic, because, you're pointing out that Valor, it's like go for the eyes. Like Quinn's voice line, one of her voice lines in League of Legends is go for the eyes, Valor.
Yeah.
So it's, like and who knows, like none of this is out yet. We may see them kind of steer into that, but I mean, bottom line is that it looks hype. It looks like a lot of fun, because I think it's also like it's going to be a puzzle of actually getting Quinn to flip too.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's anything that's going to be like just explosively overpowered.
No, it's
So
tough. Yeah.
that's just a lot of fun deck building too. Like that's, you're playing games to have fun. Like this looks fun.
Good point. Good point. So then the follower we chose here, because we only got a few of them revealed, was the Grizzled Ranger. And this kind of plays into this whole Pokemon theme that everybody's joking around about online, is because all of these characters we're getting have a companion animal.
Right. So Quinn comes into play, and she drops a Braviary, which Braviary being the evolved form of Rufflet, as everyone listening to this knows. And so the minion we picked is going to be Zigzagoon. And Zigzagoon is a 4-mana.
The listeners know exactly what we're talking about. And if you don't, why are you listening?
Like everyone saw this on the Twitter, man.
Do your research before you listen to the episode.
Duh. So, and when Zigzagoon dies, he evolves. That's the way that the evolution triggers. So he evolves into Linoon. Like, man,
I'll take over. I got it from here. But no, so Grizzled Ranger is, I think, I hope it's not just too much of a face value type thing, but it looks like a value card. It's a 4-cost 4/1 scout with Last Breath, summon a loyal Badger Bear, which is a 3-cost 4/4. So you have 8/5 of power in a 4-mana scout creature. That seems broken to me. I don't know. We obviously don't know what the speed of the game is going to be at that point. We don't know what the meta is going to be. You have 100 other cards coming out with the sets. So what do you think?
I mean, like everything as far as just spending so much time playing card games, everything screams overpowered.
Yeah.
With this card, it's because I mean, one of the things that's being speculated the most right now is that the Badger Bear, which is what Grizzled Ranger spawns when he dies, the Badger Bear has a different rarity in the card art than Grizzled Ranger. So then everyone's going, wait, is the Loyal Badger Bear its own card? So think about that. Like if it's its own card, turn 3, you can drop a 3-mana 4/4. And then next turn, you're dropping a 4/1 that dies into a 4/4.
Hey, I got a voice line for you. I love me mushrooms. Did we not learn our lesson with the 4/4 bodies for cheap? Stop. And he costs 4.
Yeah, this one costs 3. Like, come on.
I love me mushrooms.
So I'm agreeing with you as far as our stance in this episode.
Yeah.
And we have all the influence in the world. Like, we are Riot Games. Don't clip that. Don't tell them. I'm sorry.
Don't tell them, please.
But like, I agree with you, and I think that we can have a stance that we're assuming that Loyal Badger Bear is only coming from the Grizzled Ranger. It's not a card.
Yeah.
Because if that's a card, that's getting fixed before it comes out, right?
Hopefully. The biggest part about this one is the flavor that stood out to me was Grizzled Ranger. And I was like, wait, he has a grizzly bear with him. These guys at Riot, I swear that's as deep as I can go. But also, grizzled meaning veteran, right? Like somebody who's been war torn, which they refer to with the I can't remember his name, the 5-cost Noxian guy, that when you stun and recall, he gets +1/+1 for each time you did it during the game.
Oh,
Like the Legion, I'm blanking, but
I'm
that guy,
blanking.
right? Like,
I've maybe played that card
yeah,
like a
there's a lot of
total of
instances
twice.
of veteran warriors in different regions in this game. So, I saw that and I was like, Grizzled Ranger, I get it.
Yeah,
I know what you're doing over there, Rito.
it's a Legion General.
Yeah, Legion
Yeah.
General. Thank you. But yeah, this card is just I don't know. We'll see. I hope it's not as crazy as I think it's going to be.
Yeah, but I do love like already from the get go, like the art is great on both the Grizzled Ranger
Oh yeah.
and the Badger Bear. I just love the Badger Bear too because it reminds me of the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Mhm.
As far as all the animals being two animals jammed into one. And
Oh
like
yeah,
one
yeah,
of the like one of the go-to jokes in that show is that it's like, oh, this is our pet bear.
yeah.
A bear? Yeah, you mean like a platypus bear? And they're like, they start saying all these two monsters, and so then
Yeah.
it's like badger bear. So it's like, you mean like a badger bear? No, like a bear.
So let's get into the queen herself here. Queen. Um we'll go. I'll let you handle the lore here, but the art is one of the big things that stood out to people because what Riot's doing. If you're not familiar with League of Legends at the moment, they're currently doing a lot of rework of characters, a lot of changing of the art styles and the character models, and it seems like they're carrying that same process into the card game because you're dealing with a easier medium of just having art. So you're seeing a lot of redesigns on characters, which is cool, and Quinn's one of those. And I like the redesign. I just want to point that out because they take away the emphasis on how female armor is. First of all, she shouldn't be wearing armor because she's a scout.
Right.
And then she used to have like big shoulder pads as well with feathers on them. Like it was so heavy. It looked heavy for a character you're trying to pitch as a scout character. And now she looks more like a scout character. And Valor looks like he's more armored, which makes more sense. But go ahead, tell us.
Yeah.
Where's she from? What's she do?
She's the love of my life.
She's the love. No, wrong spiel. Wrong spiel.
Oh crap! Wrong podcast. So Quinn is a Demacian citizen from Uwendel. So Uwendel is going to be a city that is it's a mountain hamlet, but it's closer towards the Freljord. It's on the outskirts of Demacian territory.
Mm-hmm.
And Quinn is a one of twin set. She has a twin brother, Caleb, and they grew up in Uwendel to parents who, most notably, their mother was a ranger within the Demacian army. And they grew up being taught by their mother, like, what life as a ranger was like, how to use a bow, how to track a game, how to survive out in the wild, because they're in a remote area of Demacia. So they grew up learning how to live off the land. And when she was young, her and her brother got to watch a promenade of Jarvan III going through Uwendel, because he was there just to check up on defenses and stuff. And from that point on, their dream was to become soldiers in the Demacian army.
Suckers.
Propaganda. They saw the Navy commercials with Godsmack playing in the background, and they're just like, God, that's gotta be me, man.
My favorite thing about those commercials, just a little side tangent, is just the massive force that's roaming these random, lands, just shooting into nothingness. Like just tanks running over hills and doing jumps and jets flying, and they're just shooting. And I'm like, wait, there's no enemy. This is just what's happening? Continue. Godsmack.
This episode is brought to you by
United States Marines.
So young kids, Quinn and Caleb, they're like, we are going to be Demacian soldiers. And so then they really start focusing more on what their mother taught them so that they could go and one day become rangers. And while they were out hunting, they stumble across a party and it turns out that it's a party of nobles from Bouvel, which is a region that we have not gotten to mention at all yet. So already the plot thickens. They it turns out that it's a party of nobles from Bouvel that are being attacked by some massive creature, and of course this is, a fictitious world, so I'm blanking on what they called
it. Starts with a
it's
T.
a Tuskvore.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining like a giant boar.
Yeah.
And Quinn and Caleb rush in to save these nobles because they grew up hunting in the area, and I know that the lore, they point out that Quinn focused on the bow and that Caleb focused on the spear.
Yeah.
And so while they are fighting this Tuskvore, they chase it off, but the Tuskvore kills Caleb.
Yeah.
So then from that point on, Quinn just enters a massive state of depression. And then she also just she begins to lack on her training. And it's pointed out that, she's not paying attention to where she's firing her arrows. She's missing easy tracks. And this goes on for a year until while visiting her brother's grave, the Tuskvore comes back, tries to kill her.
Yeah.
This boy was like, hey, what I tell you about coming back into these parts?
I told you not to come back around here.
Man, I told you these my lands. So that Tuskvore comes back.
Yeah.
All right, and he's letting them know who the shooters are on these streets. I'm going to hell.
A Tuskvore with a pistol. This is the lore we're rewriting here.
Yeah, he's got a red bandana just wrapped around his face. So she gets attacked by the Tuskvore again and is heavily wounded, about to die on her last arrow, and that's when she just sees this blue streak of motion go across the boar's face. Blood comes out, and then she realizes that there's an azurite eagle, which it's with this lore, that is pointed out that that's where the wing symbol of Demacia comes from, or these birds, the thought to be extinct. But it's an azurite eagle that just starts attacking this boar to protect her. And then in this moment of just realizing that the bird's working with her, she focuses, takes her shot, and kills the boar. And then she ends up trying to tend to her wounds, tending to the bird's wounds, and then the bird, she realizes, won't leave her. It is perched up on her shoulder, and it's like that the bird is actively trying to tell her that I'm here to protect you. So she decides to name it Valor, and she decides, all right, I'm going to go and live mine and Caleb's dream now with Valor. And that's how she becomes a Demacian Ranger Knight.
Yeah. But sometimes the dreams aren't what it turns out to be, right? She gets there, gets Demacia, and as we know, because we're heavily researched, unlike Quinn,
Pinky up,
is that Demacia is very rigid, right? They have their ways. They don't really have wiggle room. So she gets there. They kind of can tell that she's not she doesn't fit into the group per se, but the nobles they say, her brother saved our life. These kids know what's up. Let her in. So she gets in anyways, but she doesn't like it because she's not able to go as she pleases. There's a whole instance with an assassin where a commander gets killed. Assassin gets away. She tracks him down, brings back his sword. And everybody's like, oh, shoot, they call her the Wings of Demacia.
Yes.
Is what they end up calling her after that. And even with all that praise, she still just knows that this is not what she wants to be doing. So she ends up in the role of a scout, which is kind of newer at this point, where she's able to go outside the bounds of Demacia and venture into Noxus and kind of gain intel and follow people around and have that perimeter. And she likes that a lot more because she gets to spend more time alone with Valor in the wild where they like to be. And that's kind of how she grew up, which I think is a nice that's a nice twist, right? Because you have this whole buildup of her and her brother essentially having no goal outside of living that Uwendale lifestyle, right? And then finding out, oh, there's probably something better out there, something bigger we can do. Her brother gets killed. And then it's like, well, I'm going to live out his dream. Turns out the dream we both had wasn't that great, and ends up shifting. If that's not an analogous for life, man, I don't know. Listen, that's a lesson. Riot's teaching you a lesson right there.
Yeah, like, you know, learn from the experience of others now. Like,
exactly.
They're trying to help you out here. And I think it's also really great because, you know, the story, like her story, quote unquote, ends with her becoming a Demacian scout.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of like making the best of her current situation, as far as realizing that her dream is not what she thought it'd be. But it's also a great symbol of Demacia slowly transitioning, you know, because the roadblock she hit was this rigid state of, you know, decorum, as well as the process of the military. And they actively are showing that it's like, okay, well, we're going to shift a little bit to give you a little more leeway so that you can still act out in the best of your abilities.
Yeah, because you're a great soldier.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it does show that, you know, it is growing, which is a very big part of Demacia as a nation when Jarvan the Fourth starts to transition from being the prince to the king of Demacia. And I'm now going to take this podcast into my domain real quick. I'm gonna bring it in because
I apologize already.
I'm officially this is now going to be canon. I am officially revising a part of the reworked lore.
Okay.
Because a lot of the lore in League of Legends was retconned, right? This piece of lore that was originally removed from the sacred texts, I'm bringing it back. All right, because during that promenade in Uwendale, when Quinn decides I'm going to become a knight, she sees a light of brilliance. She sees butterflies and rainbows, and they are all connected to a young Prince Jarvan IV. And she falls madly in love, head over heels.
Had to make it a rom-com. I can't.
With Jarvan the
I can't do this.
All right, and you heard it here on Casuals of Runeterra. That's canon. That is canon, baby. All right, and like I believe, like if I'm not mistaken, there's still voice lines for Quinn in League of Legends of her having a crush on Jarvan the IV.
Maybe we gotta look into that.
And I need that to be real. And
I need that to be real.
Which is why I'm making it to be real. Because then, you know, my dream of Jarvan the Fourth getting added into Runeterra means that maybe Shyvana gets added in. And then we can start having fun voice interactions of Shyvana and Quinn, you know, having a cat fight over Jarvan.
All right, Hedge. All right, let's talk about the card.
Cat dragon fight.
Cat dragon fight
with the badger bear watching.
With the DreamWorks, quick, get on that. So let's talk about the card. Quinn's a 5 cost, 3/4 with Scout. When she's summoned, summon Valor. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good ability. And then when I've seen you attack 4 times, she flips, which I don't think she's going to flip much.
Well, I think it's important first to point out that Valor is summoned when she's played, and Valor is a 2/1 with Challenge and Scout. And that is important because, like, 5 mana 3/4, throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah.
All right, but a 5 mana 5/5 spread over 2 bodies is a little better.
And one of those bodies has like, Challenger. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I might be able to work with something. But I agree with you. I like this is gonna be this is gonna have a huge target on its back the moment this card gets played.
Yeah.
All right. Like if I see a Quinn played across from me, my first thought is, oh no, that's gotta go.
Oh yeah, I got it's probably going to. There's a lot of control being played right now, And I think it's going to challenge that. That's probably their goal here. But when she does flip, she becomes a 5-mana 4/5, so not too much better. But when she attacks, she summons Valor, challenging the strongest enemy. So it's not as good as when you play, right? Because when you play it, you get to choose who Valor gets to challenge when you attack. This one, not so much. It kind of is, it's more of an auto path. But at this point, if you're able to flip her in a game, you're probably winning. So it's just to end the game.
It definitely feels more like a win more card.
Yep.
And I think that because I'm still excited to see this card. I'm going to be trying to build around this card a lot, because my first instinct when I see it is I've been playing a lot with different rally decks centered around Lucian, and it's like, okay, how many times can I rally in a turn, and with a scout trigger too, because maybe you can have that dream turn where you play Quinn, you get a scout trigger, so then you attack twice that turn and then rally.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe, and that question of maybe is like, that's
if your opponent walks away from their computer, it's definitely the possibility. The chances is going to skyrocket.
Just rope me every turn, please, so I can flip Quinn.
Yeah,
but I mean, that whole question of maybe is what keeps me excited for that card.
Yeah,
so but I agree with you. It's not that good.
It's going to be interesting. Going into the fate of the game section here, we wanted to talk about how she would affect the meta and how Scout will affect the meta, and that's something we can't really guess, right? But we kind of mentioned it a bit. Is I do think they're targeting. One thing we've noticed and they've talked about is control is king right now. The decks that are able to see as much as any card game you play, here's a little competitive tip for you. The more cards in your deck you can see a game, the higher chance you have of winning, right? Because you can piece together a better strategy with more resources. And that's kind of what's dominant in Runeterra right now, is the decks that have more time to go through their cards and play have a higher chance of winning. So it looks like they're trying to give aggro and tempo a little more oomph, so that they can pressure control decks to be more interactive, because they don't want a game that becomes super passive, because that's how you have a card game die instantly, is when everybody's just playing their own game and not interacting with each other. What are your thoughts on that?
And I do think that a big thing that we can point out is that Quinn is specifically Scout, I think, more than Quinn, is already affecting the metagame, because on the day of recording, we're seeing supposed leaks to a new patch for the beta. And in that patch, Bannerman for Demacia is getting nerfed.
Mm-hmm.
And Bannerman is arguably the most efficient of a more aggressive style deck.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, it's more of a mid-range play style, but Bannerman's by far the most efficient of the aggressive competitive decks. Mm-hmm. And I think that nerf, that nerf is technically necessary to give aggro a little more flexibility. Let's see some other aggro kind of styles.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a preemptive action for, like Scout with a Bannerman deck that's popping off is oppressive. Like, just, trying to visualize it. I don't... Yeah, it's like, that'll kill control. I don't even see a true aggro deck being able to beat that.
Yeah.
So I think that Quinn and Scout is already affecting the meta
good point
at this point, without us even getting to play the card yet.
All right, Hedge. So, because I love you, I got something for you this episode.
I don't like the things
for this episode, as we come to an end, we're gonna do our best animal noise. All right. So, because I'm such a gentleman, I always go first. Kikaraki, kikaraki. All right. You're up. Any animal.
I'm just gonna in this moment. I'm just gonna slightly turn off my headset. Exit the call. Let me see.
slow clap, dude. I did it. In my mind, I was like, okay, he's probably gonna go with like a Pokemon, or because there's no limits, he'll probably come up with something else. Dude, that was good.
I went for the Tuskboard.
You never fail me. You never fail me on these. I hope the listeners at home are doing it as well. We're gonna start having you all send it in. Listen, we'll get it all set up. We'll do a challenge at some point and give something away. I don't know. You guys like stuff?
We want our Twitter feeds to be nothing but little snippets of people just making animal noises into their phone cameras, and everyone on the outside of these of these 10 people just going, what?
I could imagine someone starting the podcast. You know how like you'll drop your phone or something and like hit a skip button on part of the podcast, and it just plays like a section you don't know what's going on, and they just skip to the part where we're just making animal noises, and they look at it like, what the hell is happening?
It's like, oh, fat finger accidentally to this part.
I know, right?
They hear that and they go, I'll just turn it off now.
But as always, thanks for enduring with our fun shenanigans, and thanks for listening. And we'll be back soon with you know what? Actually, we're gonna do more of these because Riot, they surprised us with this release cycle. So we're gonna try to catch more of these new characters and weave them into our current structure of going through regions.
So it's anyone that's paying attention to a lot of what Riot's kind of showing with Runeterra, they may have an idea of what our next episode's gonna look like.
What's it gonna be? Anyways, thanks for listening. We'll be back soon with the next episode.
Goodbye, everybody.